Okay. I think your question is if there's a breach and you are aware that something has not been done, whether as a cybersecurity professional, whether you be
Yeah.
that
That
right.
was the question.
That was the question,
Okay.
right?
Then you were talking about it depends on the culture of the organization, and you mentioned something that in cybersecurity, there's something you say, oh, that was where the thing went up.
Okay. Okay, okay, as I was saying, so we have as a cybersecurity professional, you must make sure that you practice due diligence and due care. So when you're talking of a due care refers to habit, procedure, and policies that we use to keep us safe from trouble. But the process in cybersecurity is just the procedure and practices that have been put in place to ensure that the organization is safe. For example, it's safe from cybersecurity menace. Let's presume that there's a ransomware attack on your organization, and and uh, uh, and this thing ground down the application, the organization. So for the cybersecurity professionals, because you are the subject matter expert, the first question that we asked is that, okay, do you have an anti-malware policy? Do you have the required policies, procedure in place? Let's please that, okay, you have them in place. So what were you doing to make sure that necessary caution is taken care of, is taken? So that's what we call the due diligence. You just don't go beyond just you do knowing what you're supposed to know. Due care is about you knowing what you're supposed to know. Due diligence, are you actually doing it? You know what I'm saying? So in most organization, if there is any cyber attack and cyber attacks, and it was discovered that the security professionals are found wanting or they don't have the required skill set, it might cost them their job. You know what I'm saying? It might cost them their job. Even the CISO, if you look at the what happened some years back about the Bank of Bangladesh, I think there was an exposure of about 88 million USD. That's a whole lot of money. So that exposure, before they even prove further, the CIO, the CISO honorably resigned before, you know what I'm saying, because they found themselves lacking that, okay, they are aware of some of this vulnerability, but what has been done to deal with this and all of that. So that's how our job is very, very critical. It's more or less just see yourself as a foot soldier and you are at war front. And as a foot soldier, you know that you're supposed to wear bulletproof or you're supposed to defend yourself. When you're supposed to shoot, you see an enemy you did not shoot. You are fraternizing. You bear the consequence. So this our work is very crazy, right? So you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So because if things goes bad, trust me, the cybersecurity professionals working in the organization I find themselves in trouble, especially in banks and the CISO. There's no way you can explain it unless if you're lucky that, okay, the culture of the organization was doing so it's not so bad indicting people. Like what happened to, I think some years back, I think it's an organization, JP Morgan. I don't know whether you remember the incident several years back that there was an incident that for 6 months there was the bad guys who were in the organization system. About 90 servers were compromised and all of that. And the information was leaked to the public. Yeah, because your organization has a very good culture. If it's some other organization that the information of the bank customer was leaked to the public, it might cause issues to the job and all of that. But instead of the organization rather look at it from the lesson learned, they increase the security budget, they hire more security professionals globally to build up the security practice. So that's why I cherish some organization like your organization that when it comes to culture, the culture is not to indict people, because trust me, there's no anybody that want to be sleeping when you know that cyber criminals are there to hack to your, you know what I'm saying? And because there's no matter of some criminals are very, very sophisticated and have the main organization. You have to be up and doing and all of that. And more so, you may also know what you're supposed to do, but you know, this you can see that this work is very broad. And maybe you realize that certain skill set that are missing. Even if you have all the skill set, a single person cannot be everywhere. You know what I'm saying? You can't be the just look at it like a football. You are playing football. No matter how good you are, if you can play midfield, you can be everywhere at any point in time. And all that. So that's why I'm happy about it. For an organization, they look at it from the lesson learned instead of sacking the security guys or as it's so to go. They double the security budget for that particular year, and they also increase the number of staff and also before the team better. So it all depends on the organization. You know what I'm saying? And also but from our own end, we just need to be sure that we practice due diligence and due care. Not just make sure that you're supposed to do what you need to do to hold your hand. Would that answer your question, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's look at the attack attributes. So we are getting deeper, and an attack is an activity by threat agent or adversary against an asset. So you know, we said that there are different kind of agents. At times, you can also simulate an attack if you're a certified ethical hacker. You know what I'm saying? Like some of us, I'm trained to be an ethical hacker, and at times, if I want to be sure that my organization is secure enough, I can simulate an attack. If I realize that there is I can hack into the system, I will see it as a lesson learned to be for the organization. So let's look at the attribute of the hack. So for every attack, there will always be an attack vector. There will always be a payload. So I will explain what I mean by payload. Payload is what that a payload is what can be like a kind of what the attacker is using or what the agent is using to launch an attack. Let me explain it in layman language. For example, if somebody wants to destroy maybe a particular building remotely, and you can send in a missile, that missile that used as an agent of destruction is a payload. You get what I'm saying? So in cybersecurity, a payload is what, for example, if you want to attack, if you want to cause a disruption on a particular asset, you can, as time goes on, I will be explaining the three-way handshake.
Sorry, can you come again with attack vector?
Okay, I should come again with the attack vector. Okay, we are talking about the attack attributes. Before attack attribute, these are the attributes of an attack. There must be an attack vector. Attack vector can be the agent. Okay. You know what I'm saying? And for the attack to be successful, there must be a payload. A payload, what the agent used to craft, is that like kind of a craft, the medium of the medium of the exploit. You get what I'm saying? Payload can be a malware, can be a virus, and what the payload will cause is the exploit. And the exploit will only be successful if there is a vulnerability. And said the impact of the vulnerability on the target, maybe target customer account, target company intellectual properties, target the company network, so that nobody will be able to access the network. So there are two attack vectors. This vector can be ingress, can also be egress. So we are talking of ingress. Ingress attack focus on intrusion or hacking to the system. If the essence of the if you have to penetrate the system, so that's what we call the ingress. So egress has to do with data filtration, removing data from the system and network. You get what I'm saying? So it is important to consider both type of attacks. So we have different kind of two type of vector. The vector can be ingress if you are hacking, or you are doing a kind of intrusion, and egress if you are doing a data filtration. So what are the processes?
Sorry, come again. Ingress. What did you say ingress was again?
Ingress focus on intrusion or hacking to the system, while egress focus on removing data from the system. Do you get my point?
Yeah, I'm just noting something.
Okay.
Then ingress
has to do with removing data from the system and network, or storing of data, like storing of intellectual properties, storing of so it is important for us to understand the two types of vector. So the attack vector can be ingress or can be egress. So let's look at the process. What are the processes? These are the processes that which the bad guys use to hack a system, or to whether to do like kind of ingress or egress attack. So these are the stages, and some people call it hacking steps or stages in hacking. So the first thing that the people that want to maliciously take information from the system is to perform reconnaissance. Reconnaissance has to do with the information gathering. You just don't go to the system and start carrying an exploit. You first of all need to understand the system, understand the nature of the organization, understand the application that they use, understand various things, understand look, how do you perform reconnaissance? We have an active and passive reconnaissance. When we're talking of passive, that means that you are not interacting with the system. Maybe you go to the website, go to Google, to search engine to get as much information about an organization before you start the hacking process. So after gather all the information, the next stage is create attack tools. So say that you use a tool or you create your own tools. Then the next step is to deliver the malicious capability. And the next
Sorry, what is reconnaissance?
reconnaissance is an information gathering process.
Okay.
So having gathered enough information about your target, you create your attack tools. So after the creation of the attack tools, you deliver the tools without malicious capabilities, that you carry out an exploitation and compromise, that you conduct the attack. After the attack, yes, you look at the, okay, does the attack, do you get the desired results? After getting the desired results, a bad guy might want to maintain a presence. You get what I'm saying? They don't want to get out there. Just create a backdoor to be sure that, okay, they are always in the system, that coordinate a campaign. So what are the non-adversary threat events? Some threat events are not the result of adversary activity. Common non-adversary threat events include the handling of critical or sensitive information by authorized users. Sometimes, if something can happen by as a mistake, incorrect privilege settings, something can happen as a result of maybe natural disaster, fire, flood, hurricane, or can also happen as a result of vulnerabilities on the software, can also happen as a pervasive disk error, other form of event. So let's look at the various attack. Attack can be a virus. You know what a virus is. A variant of virus. We have worm, we have Trojan horse, we have botnets, we have spyware. Maybe virus that want to be spying your system, hardware. Maybe you are seeing unnecessary hardware, advertisement on your system. Ransomware. So ransomware want to take over your system, and you'll be asked to pay certain amounts before you can get access to your system. The keylogger will record all the keystroke on your system. Everything. Maybe if you enter you type on the keyboard, the keylogger will be saving it and be sending it to the attacker. The rootkit at some of these things is a form of malware that the attacker used to create a backdoor, to create APT means advanced persistent threat. The advanced persistent threat is always being used by the people, malicious people that are highly skilled. You go over enough skills and all of that. Backdoor, I think I've explained what a backdoor is. Brute force is a means of attack. If you keep trying different kind of password, maybe you have
okay. Please, can you come again on backdoor? Sorry.
Okay, backdoor is a form of attack to maintain persistent presence.
Okay.
Just like from the English word, backdoor. For example, if you have a web-gated premises and your door is always well locked, but if you now create another loophole somewhere whereby you get, so backdoor can be what the attacker used to. So then you're talking of brute forcing. Brute forcing has to do with is a means by which you crack a password by trying different possible password combination. You can brute force a password, you can brute force an encryption key, and all of that. Buffer overflow. Buffer means memory. Literally in software development. Overflow means if you have excess of something. So I will explain what I mean by buffer overflow. Buffer overflow is a form of attackers that allow, so it's a form of vulnerability that allows an attackers to inject more than necessary bytes that is above a particular buffer threshold with the aim of taking over the system or with the aim of executing the malicious packets. So for example, if a system is supposed to take 10 bytes of data and you flood the system with 100 bytes of data, because the memory that has been allocated is 10 bytes. By the time you flood the system with 100 bytes, to make the system to be misbehaving. And buffer overflow is commonly associated to application that are C-like in nature, especially C, all those C-like language. XSS means cross-site scripting. It's a form of application vulnerability. So that allows an attacker to execute a malicious client-side scripted language. DOS means DOS means denial of service. Why did DOS mean distributed denial of service? Man in the middle is a form of attack that allows an attacker to hijack a packet and also that allow the attacker to hijack a payload or a packet and also take over the packet. For example, if you are trying to send the money, maybe to me, for example, through your online banking application, and maybe another person is standing in between to sniff the packets, and that person, instead of me to get the transfer go to the wrong person. So that means that they've conducted the man-in-the-middle attack on you. So
are you talking about social engineering?
I'm talking of man in the middle.
Okay.
So it's a type of cyber attack in which the attacker secretly intercepts and relay message between two parties who believe they are communicating directly with each other. You know what I'm saying? For example, maybe two of us are interacting, maybe through, you want to send the money to me. Somebody will be at the middle, intercept the traffic, and tamper with the traffic. I'll be seeing the wrong stuff. So social engineering is a non-technical attack anyway. Social engineering has to do with techniques aimed at targeting the target into revealing specific information or performing specific action for legitimate reason. For example, if I just call and I pretend to be calling from your maybe telco provider, and I presume I pretend to be a customer service, and I was able to get some very key details, or I pretended to be calling from a customer service of a bank, and I asked for your social security number, and you willingly give it to me. So it's a form of attack that use manipulation, the art of manipulating, influencing, or deceiving you in order to gain control over your computer assets. Phishing is the form of social engineering. Phishing is when you send a fictitious email. You get what I'm saying? And the email seems like it's a fraudulent practice of sending emails or other messages purported to be from a reputable companies. So that's what we call phishing. So we have various forms of attack, because as a cybersecurity professional, you need to understand this. So what do I mean by spoofing? Spoofing happens when cyber criminals use deception to appear as another person or source of information. For example, if you are working on a system, every system has a name and every system has an IP address. As an attacker, if I don't want people to know my origin, I can spoof somebody else's system. I can spoof your IP address, and I will now use that spoof IP address to launch an attack. So that if they want to trace me, it's you that they'll be tracing. SQL injection is one of the is a form of web vulnerabilities that allows a malicious attacker to inject an application with a malicious structured query language. So because the way by which system interact with the database is through structured query language. So it's a common attack that uses malicious SQL code for backend database manipulation to access information that was not intended to be displayed. So with the SQL attack injection, you can delete the entire database, you can copy out information from the database and all of that. Zero-day exploit. What is zero-day exploit? Zero-day exploit is a form of exploits. It's a vulnerability that has not been known. Though we have vulnerability, a known vulnerability, and we have vulnerability that is not known. It's an vulnerability that is not known to the manufacturer or to the entire world. So some bad guys, if they know that there's a zero-day vulnerability, because it's only if it's a zero-day, they can conduct a zero-day exploit. The form of is a form of attacker that leverage on zero-day vulnerabilities before the vulnerability is made known to the public. For example, if there is a vulnerability in your house and you are not aware that there's a back door, or maybe somebody can come in through the roof and you don't aware, and somebody, so that's what we call the zero-day. So the day you are aware of that vulnerability, it's no longer a zero-day. So these are the times that we need to understand, like the advanced persistent threat. Most of the time,
so the day you I wanted to use this thing adjective. The day you catch what the attacker wants to do is 0-day, right?
No, the zero-day attack is
identify.
Before you is an attack, is a vulnerability that is not known yet.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? The day that that vulnerability is known and the manufacturer knows about that and they release a patch, it's no longer a 0-day.
Okay.
You get? So those are the things that we need to understand. We'll be talking about